Welcome, friends. Today we commemorate the 69th anniversary of the passing of the great master Paramhansa Yogananda. My name is Nayaswamis Jaya. It's my pleasure to have with me today Nayaswamis Jyotish and Nayaswami Devi, who will be presenting this program this afternoon or this morning. Before we begin, let's pray. Let's offer a prayer to the great masters to invoke their presence to join us in this celebration of the great master's Mahasamadhi. Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, Beloved God, great masters of self-realization, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Sri Yukteswar, and great master Gurudev Paramhansa Yogananda, saints of all religion, we humbly bow to you all. Divine masters, take us by the hand and guide us to our true home in thee. May we feel thy presence every moment of our lives, animating us with thy joy, guiding us with thy wisdom. We are thy children. Receive us. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Amen. Welcome again, folks. Paramahansa Yogananda came into this world in the last decade of the 19th century, and he came into this world with a divine mission. He came at a time of great change in the world. It was a time of accelerating change, actually, where he had perceived that mankind as a whole, the world as a whole, had entered into a new age. It was a time when ancient teachings needed to be presented in modern clothing, so to speak. And so he came with specific missions to bring unity, East and West, and specifically to bring techniques and exercises that would allow people entering in this time of tumult, this time of change, to be able to navigate a spiritual journey and to be able to experience for themselves the wonder of God. And he fulfilled that mission to a large degree, but one lifetime does not leave enough years to be able to accomplish all that he set out to do. But what he did is he planted seeds. And it was then the job of the disciples, those who come after, to cultivate those seeds and bring them to fruition. Paramhansa Yogananda passed on in Los Angeles in 1952, but his work continued. And one of his disciples, Swami Kriyananda, made it his mission to carry forward the message of Paramhansa Yogananda and his mission. And in that regard, Swami created Ananda Sangha as a vehicle to be able to share Master's mission, Master's name throughout the world. We would sometimes ask Swamiji, what is our purpose? What are we doing as Ananda Sangha? And he would often say it's to share the teachings and the name of our Guru, Paramhansa Yogananda, so that it becomes better known in the world. And the prophecy that Yogananda made, that someday these teachings of self-realization, and specifically this technique of Kriya Yoga that he introduced into the West, would be known in every corner of the world. And that prophecy has come to pass. Swami Kriyananda established Ananda Sangha, and upon his passing in 2013, he passed the mantle on to Nayaswamis Jyotish and Devi. And they have now served, after Swamiji's passage, as the spiritual directors of Ananda Sangha worldwide. And so I would like to invite them this evening to come forward and share inspiration about Paramhansa Yogananda's message, his life, and the work that is being carried forward by Ananda Sangha. Jyotish, would you please come forward?
Thank you, Jaya. Hello, friends. It's very nice to be able to share with you in this way. Obviously, we're gathered together to celebrate the Mahasamadhi of Paramhansa Yogananda. Now, the concept of celebration and death don't often pair together very much, but we have to realize that a great master, a great consciousness, like Paramhansa Yogananda and other great souls, is very different from our consciousness. All of us are souls, and we inhabit a body, but most of us define ourselves or think of ourselves as the body and the personality, not the soul. So at our death, it seems that because our consciousness has been limited to the body, that we cease to exist. But of course we don't cease to exist. Our soul goes on, and as long as we have desires that are tied to the physical plane, it means that we will have to reincarnate on a physical plane in order to fulfill those desires. And so the cycle of reincarnation goes on and on and on until, as Yogananda Ji said, it takes on a certain anguishing monotony. And at that point, we want to get out of that. But a master's consciousness is different from our consciousness. A master knows and it's beyond understanding. He knows that he's the soul, and he knows that the body is just a temporary vehicle. And so when he passes on or she passes on, it's just a little blip. Master described it as taking off a coat and putting on another. It's no more for them than that. How often do we get up and put on a coat or a shirt or whatever we're wearing and take it off maybe multiple times a day? We don't think a big thing out of that. Well, a master approaches leaving this body in much the same way. Obviously, he recognizes that people who love him are attached to that particular coat that he's wearing and will feel anguish when he changes it. So there's a little bit of a reluctance to leave on the part of the masters, not for themselves, but for their disciples. But the point is that they are way beyond being confined by time and space. For them, their scope of time is eternity. And this little blip of a lifetime, they have a mission. Of course, it's an important mission. As Jaya Ji was describing, Master came into this world at this time to establish a whole new way of relating to God. The way of self-realization, rather than ritual or particular religions or ways of relating to God that make a point of projecting God as far away, and often you need a priest as an intermediary to speak to God for you. The great masters came to say, that age is past. Now is the time for an individual direct relationship with God. The time for knowing God has come, as Yogananda put it. And in that sense, he had a very important mission in this lifetime. But he's had important missions before. These great souls come again and again in order to move the world along. So one could say every time they incarnate, they don't have any compulsion to incarnate. So why would they incarnate? Only to help us, only to help the world. And so they incarnate with a particular mission. And the great masters, like Master, have a dual mission, one might say. They have one mission to the world, and then they have another mission to those who call on them specifically, to their disciples or to those who have a connection. Now, the world mission, the reason they incarnate is for the love of mankind. They know we suffer. They know we worry. They know we hunger. They know all of that because they too not only have gone through it in successive bodies, but their consciousness is tied. They know the consciousness of everyone in the world. Unimaginable for us. But they know the suffering. They know all of the angst that people go through. And so they come to help us. They come out of love to help us. But for most people, that love is not returned because either they have never heard of Yogananda, they've never made a connection. If they have made a connection, it's just kind of brief out of curiosity and then they move on. So it's not like they have a reciprocal relationship of love. But we, devotees of Yogananda, we have that reciprocal relationship where we love him because of the God-given love that he has awakened in our hearts. And in that love relationship, then he is able to work much more directly with those of us who are with him. That's why he said, as Jaya said, right toward the end of his life, someone asked him, Master, when you leave, will you still be with us? And he said, to those who think me near, I will be near. Now, he is near everyone in the world, but because people don't think of him, they don't perceive that he's near them. You and I, we have the chance to think of Master. And if we think of Master, then we realize that he's near us. Now, how does that manifest? It seems, well, this is very nice philosophy, but does it really mean anything when you get down to practical terms? Oh, my friends, it is the whole of life, that attunement with the Guru. I know dozens of stories of people who have been helped or their lives have been changed just within the last 3 or 4 days. A dear friend of ours had a very serious accident skiing, where she was skiing and nobody quite knows what happened, but probably she either lost control or something happened where she hit a tree and had a terrible head injury. They had to bring in a helicopter. They helicoptered her out to the nearest good hospital. The helicopter pilot said he didn't know whether she would live. The doctor, when they began examining her, told the friend that she was with, we don't know whether she'll recover consciousness. If she does recover consciousness, we don't know whether she will be able to regain full functioning. We just don't know with an injury like this. Now, this woman and her friend who is with her are both Kriyabans, both disciples of Master. She walked out of that hospital. She is going home tomorrow, 2 or 3 days later, with such a severe injury that the doctors didn't know whether she would ever function again or even live. Now, that is a kind of protection. Now, it wasn't vague. Our friend let us know we had hundreds of people in Ananda praying for her. And those who think me near, I will be near. Who did we pray to? Prayed to Divine Mother. We prayed to Master. Please help. To those who think me near, I will be near. And so Master works. It's as he described, it's like the sun shining on a building. If we have our shutters closed, the sun can't come in. But think me near, open our shutters, and he comes in. So, but now we're talking about Mahasamadhi. It seems like he was in a body, but now he's gone. I lament. I'm sure many, many people lament. Oh, I wish I could have been there with Master when he was in the body. Then I would have had a real relationship with him. The relationship can be just as deep or even deeper when he's beyond the body. There was a monk in Switzerland who read Autobiography of a Yogi in, I think it was 1949 or 1950, and decided that he wanted to go and meet Yogananda. And as he was preparing, he was a young man at the time, as he was preparing to be able to go, Yogananda passed away. And so he didn't come to the United States. He stayed there. But he kind of lamented that he never got to go, never got to meet Yogananda. And then a great saint from India was lecturing throughout Europe, Swami Ramdas, a great saint. And he gave a lecture, and this man attended it. And the man afterwards went to Swami Ramdas and asked him to be his guru. And Swami Ramdas said, "Oh, I can't be your guru. Yogananda's your guru." And this man said, "Yes, but Yogananda's dead." And Swami Ramdas, he said, "No, you've got it backwards. You're dead. Yogananda's alive." See, we're dead to that consciousness that goes beyond time and space. And so our relationship is to an infinite consciousness that is beyond time and space. And when that relationship is there, then it allows miracles to happen. I've just been reading a book by a disciple of Anandamoy Ma, a friend of ours, and some wonderful stories about Ma. But one story in particular flashes into my... Well, two stories I'll tell. One story that flashed in first was that one day Ma was sitting giving satsang in a big group, and all of a sudden her hair, her clothes, everything became soaking wet. And it just was a strange phenomenon, just like she'd been walked out of a shower. And nobody knew the reason for this. It just happened. And so one of the attendants there wrote down the time and the date because it was such an unusual phenomenon. Several months later, a woman came and said that she had slipped into a stream that was in flood, and it was carrying her downstream. And she called on Ma, and all of a sudden she saw Ma, and Ma helped her out of the stream and saved her life. And Didi Ma, who had written this down, said, "Well, when did this happen?" At the exact time that Ma became soaked in that satsang. So, what does that mean? Does space matter to these great ones? No. Does time matter? No. None of that. Those are delusions that we have. But so the thought that because of the Mahasamadhi, because Yogananda lived from the late 19th century to 1952 and then passed away, he didn't pass away. His body, the coat that he was wearing, lasted for that long. But you and I, he's like at least our grandfather or our great-grandfather. Swami Kriyananda, who knew him, worked with him, was with him, he's like the son of Master. For us, Swami is the one that has brought Master to us, and we worked with Swami Kriyananda. And so Swami Kriyananda is our spiritual father. Yogananda is our spiritual grandfather. Well, Swami had great sadness when Yogananda left, because he was with him. He and we'll hear a little bit later that. But that great sadness doesn't exist for you and me. It's more a historical event, and it's more kind of a nostalgic yearning. I wish we could have been with him. But we are with him if we think we're with him. We are with him if we love him, because then we open ourselves to his love. I want to read a beautiful poem. This is called When I Am Only a Dream. And it's almost as if Yogananda is writing these words as a parting gift to his disciples. When I am only a dream. I come to tell you all of him, and the way to encase him in your bosom, and of the discipline that brings his grace. Those of you who have asked me to guide you to my beloved's presence, that's all of us. We've all asked him to guide. To those of you who've asked me to guide you to my beloved's presence, I warn you through my silently talking mind, or speak to you through a gentle, significant glance. How can he speak to us through a gentle, significant glance if he's passed away? Well, we have photos of Master. There's a photo of Master in our meditation room. And I can tell you it's a daily experience that when I'm meditating or when I've finished meditating, I look at that picture, and the glance of that picture speaks to me. It tells me, oh, I'm pleased. You made a good effort in that meditation. Or once in a while, it'll have a little sterner look because maybe I need it. I will. Let me get to the right place. Or speak to you through a gentle, significant glance, or whisper to you through my love, or loudly dissuade you when you stray away from him. But when I shall become only a memory, or a mental image, or a silently speaking voice, when no earthly call will ever reveal my whereabouts in unplumbed space, when no shallow entreaty or stern stentorian command will bring an answer from me, I will smile in your mind when you are right, and when you are wrong, I will weep through my eyes, dimly peering at you in the dark, and weep through your eyes, perchance. And I will whisper to you through your conscience. Listen to your conscience. That is Master whispering to you. That is his guidance. That's the way that he can speak to you. And I will reason with you through your reason. And I will love all through your love. When you are no longer able to talk with me, read my whispers from eternity. Eternally, through it, I will talk with you. Devi and I have started the practice of daily reading one of his whispers from eternity. And it's a profound experience if you do it at the end of meditation, because those prayer demands are Masters writing for us the soul call of the devotee to the divine. And if you, like a stone skipping across the surface of the pond and landing on dry land, it never gets down. But if in the silence, in deep meditation, toward the end of meditation, when your mind is calm and your heart is open, if you read one of those whispers from eternity, Master said, I will speak to you through those. And I tell you, friends, he does speak to us through those. So please read those. Unknown, I will walk by your side and guard you with my invisible arms. just as he guarded my friend. And as soon as you know my beloved and hear his voice in silence, you will know me again more tangibly than you knew me on this earth plane. And yet, when I am only a dream to you, I will come to remind you that you too are not but a dream of my heavenly beloved. And when you know you are a dream, as I now know, we will be ever awake in him. So this beautiful last words of Master, that's the way to relate to him. His Mahasamadhi has not taken him away from us. In fact, it has taken him out of the allowing us to be deludedly thinking that he lives in that form. He's ever present now. He's within you completely. Just think him near, and he will be near.
Hello, everyone. So I'll add a few words here as well. Swami Kriyananda gave a beautiful tribute to Master some years ago, at 1996 it was, in Portland, Oregon. And I had the honor of transcribing it and editing it. And in it he begins in a very unusual way. He says, to offer a tribute to Master is really to offer a tribute to all of you. Because the Masters don't come to show us how great they are. They come to show us our own potential. And so really, when we celebrate Master's birthday, we look and we celebrate his life. But when we celebrate his Mahasamadhi, it's the continuity of his consciousness and how he tried to implant that awareness of higher consciousness in each of his disciples during his life and in each of us who are sincerely following his teachings. Some years before his passing, Swami said to us, I want you all to have a goal in this lifetime to become Jivan Muktas, freed while living, freed souls. And when I heard him say that, I just thought, oh, that's too high for me. I'm not worthy of that. And I didn't quite know how to relate to it. I thought, why is he asking us something that's impossibly high, an impossibly high attainment? But I put it on the shelf and went about my just following the path and service and meditation. And then little by little, I began realizing it's not that I feel I'm worthy of such a thing, or that maybe any of us are, but I really want it. I want to be free. I want to be free and wake up from the dream. And it's as simple as that. And we shouldn't look at how far we've come behind us and, oh, I made this mistake and that mistake, because that's not how the Masters see us. Many of you know Swami would often walk into a room and he would say, hello, all you great souls. And humorously, I said at first when he would say that, we would look around to see if somebody had entered the room, some great soul. But he was talking to us. And he was trying to remind us that's who we really are. And so in celebrating Master's Mahasamadhi, I think the most important thing we can do is to feel the continuity of that consciousness in our own hearts, because that's why they come again and again. As Master says in his poem, God's Boatman, crossing 1,000,000 crags of suffering, 1,000,000,000,000 times if it must be, as long as one stray brother is left weeping by the wayside. And so the greatest gift we can give Master is to say, I want this. Maybe I'm not worthy, maybe I haven't earned it, but I want it. I want freedom. I want to feel your presence within me. And I want to carry on what you have started in my own little way to help whoever I can. And in this talk, it's called A Tribute to Yogananda, I just want to read the last concluding paragraphs of what Swami says, because try as I might, I could never paraphrase it as beautifully. This first sentence is very important. The legacy of Paramhansa Yogananda is that consciousness which will change you and make you as he was. There is no greater glory that you can give him than to become more and more like him, not in his mannerisms, but in his devotion, his joy, his ability to see everything as Divine Mother's play. Nothing else matters. Once, Swami Kriyananda said, we were helping him into his car because he was having trouble with his knees. He said to us, "You're so kind, doing all these things for me." We said, "Oh, Master, when one thinks of what you're doing for us, what is this kindness?" Then he smiled so sweetly and said, "God is helping God. That's his drama. Depersonalize it. Realize that it's all the divine show working through him, working through you, working through everyone. If you want to change this world, that thought alone will change it. Be in tune with him and realize yourself as an instrument of his love. Be in tune with him and realize yourself as an instrument of his love." And in the new path, that's Swami Kriyananda's autobiography, there's a magnificent chapter called His Last Days. And we'll hear shortly, as soon as I finish speaking, we'll hear Swami reading the conclusion of that chapter and have a beautiful accompanying slideshow. But he begins this chapter with a very interesting image. He says, in the great vastness of space, where the nebulae of gases are floating, there are little atoms randomly floating, very far apart. Physicists tell us maybe 17 miles apart, these little atoms. But then, if some random movement causes two to come in close association, they begin forming a little teeny magnetic field. But that magnetic field will draw another atom and another atom until finally a huge mass is formed. It could be 1,000,000 miles in radius. And when that mass becomes so big, there's an implosion. And a new life, a new entity is born, and it's a star. And that star then can influence many, many other little entities out in space, planets and so forth. And Swamiji says, so it is with the great star of a soul like Yogananda. All his energy has come together over unimaginably long periods of time, forming a huge star, and then it starts to draw, one by one by one, those other orbiting little entities, and that's all of us. And they form great, and to go to the analogy of the guru-disciple, they form spiritual families. And such is Ananda Sangha. And its influence can go out and out and out. And so it's not enough just to look at the Master's picture on the altar. This was Swami Kriyananda's great gift to us. He empowered us with the ability with the desire to share his master's teachings just as he did. And not just the teachings. Anybody can read a book and share the teachings, but to share his love, to share his joy, to share his compassion, to share his radiance. And so, as Swami said, the greatest gift we can give to Master is to accept that we too can be instruments for the love and joy he brought to earth. This is the true meaning of his legacy. And as we do this, that power was greater and greater. It's not governments that change the world. It's not businessmen or politicians. It's consciousness. And Yogananda came with this divine consciousness, simplicity, humility, compassion, joy, love, wisdom, you name it. And now, as the years roll by, since his physical body was on this earth, we have to kindle that flame within us. Maybe we're not worthy, but just as Swami set that high goal for us, we have to say, Master, I may be the least of your children, but I want to be an instrument of your love. And this is the message that we share for his Mahasamadhi. And now we'd like to invite you to listen to Swamiji reading the last pages of this chapter we referred to from the New Path. And one of our dear devotees here at Ananda Village, Bhaktan, arranged a beautiful slideshow to go with it. So please enjoy.
Years ago, Master had said, "When I leave this earth, I want to go speaking of my America and my India." In a song about India that he had written, to the tune of the popular song My California, he paraphrased the ending of that popular version with the words, "I know when I die, in joy I will sigh for my sunny, grand old India." Once, too, in a lecture he had stated, "A heart attack is the easiest way to die. That is how I choose to die." This evening, all those predictions were to prove true. Master was scheduled to speak after the banquet. His brief talk was so sweet, so almost tender, that I think everyone present felt embraced in the gossamer net of his love. Warmly he spoke of India and America, and of their respective contributions to world peace and true human progress. He talked of their future cooperation. Finally, he read his beautiful poem, My India. Throughout his speech, I was busy recording his words, keeping my eyes on my notebook. He came to the last lines of the poem, "Where Ganges, woods, Himalayan caves, and men dream God, I am hallowed, my body touched that sod." Sod became a long-drawn sigh. Suddenly, from all sides of the room, there was a shriek. I looked up. "What is it?" I demanded of Dick Hames, seated beside me. "What happened?" "Master fainted," he replied. "Oh, no, Master, you wouldn't faint. You've left us. You've left us." The forgotten playwright in me cried silently, "This is too perfect a way for you to go, for it to mean anything else." I hastened to where Master lay. A look of bliss was on his face. Virginia Wright was stooped over him, trying desperately to revive him. Mr. Ahuja, the Consul General, came over to me and put an arm around my shoulders to comfort me. Never, dear friend, will I forget that sweet act of kindness. They brought Master's body to Mount Washington and placed it lovingly on his bed. One by one we went in, weeping, and knelt by his bedside. "Mother," cried Joseph. "Oh, Mother!" Indeed, Master had been a mother to us all. Ah, and how much more than a mother! Miss Lancaster gazed at me in anguish. How many thousands of years it took, marveled an older disciple, gazing upon him in quiet awe, to produce such a perfect face. Later on, after we'd left the room, Dayamata remained alone with Master's body. As she gazed at him, a tear formed on his left eyelid and slowly trickled down his cheek. Lovingly she caught it with her handkerchief. In death as in life, he was telling his beloved disciple, and through her the rest of us, "I love you always, through endless cycles of time, unconditionally, without any desire except for your happiness, forever in God."
We'll now have an arati with some holy relics that belonged personally to Master. We'll describe them first. This silver pocket watch was given to Mukunda from his father when he graduated from the Scottish College. Mukunda was his family name. It's a Scottish-made watch. The initials on the back are MLG, Mukunda Lal Ghosh. Yogananda gave it to his dear friend Tulsi Bose when he left for America and told him to keep it with him always. This was given to Ananda by the Mukherjee family in Calcutta. This white handkerchief of Master's has the initial SY for Swami Yogananda. Then behind it on the altar is Master's cane. It had been kept in the Mukherjee meditation room in Calcutta since 1936. It was given to Ananda in the 1990s. The handle has been restored to its natural shape, but not yet colored to match the rest of the wood. Then on the altar, next to it, is Master's Esraj, an instrument that is played with a bow. This also is from the 1930s and given to Ananda by the Mukherjee family. There's a picture of Master playing an Esraj, but it is a different one, as the tuning pegs are a different style. And finally, Master's wool felted meditation mat with crewel needlework design. It was given to Swami Kriyananda in 1996 by Mira Ghosh from Serampore during his visit to India with the Ananda pilgrimage that year. So now Jaya, Jyotish and I will do an arati to these holy relics, and please feel that you too are honoring them and offering your heart's devotion to these simple relics that have great sacredness.
Shri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Shri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Shri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Shri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom, steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Shri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom. Steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Sri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom. Steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Sri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom. Steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Sri Yogananda, guide to inner freedom. Steal into my heart of hearts, banish my delusions. Steal into